Have you ever had one of those moments, where a game studio you love, known for one specific thing, just drops an announcement and it completely flips your expectations? That kind of delightful shock. Well, that's pretty much what happened when Obsidian Entertainment, the RPG Masters, avowed The Outer Worlds 2. That Obsidian announced something totally different, something that feels like stepping into this tiny, miniature world, but honestly, with gigantic implications. So today we're doing a deep dive into that very surprise Grounded 2, the sequel to their really popular survival crafting game. And our mission here is basically to unpack everything, all the juicy nuggets from the hands-on previews, the community buzz, insights from the devs, all of it. And you're going to see pretty quickly, this isn't just Grounded, but bigger. It's evolving in some really fascinating and maybe even kind of terrifying ways.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? The original Grounded just hit this perfect note. It had that like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids vibe, that sense of wonder, but mixed with really intense, sometimes brutal backyard survival. It juggled awe and dread really well. And Grounded 2 looks set to just amplify that. More wonder, definitely more dread potential. You could feel the excitement from fans, right?
Yeah.
Especially when they dropped that early access date, July 29, 2025. It just landed. People are ready.
Okay, let's unpack this. First up, the setting. Big change here. We're leaving the backyard and heading to Brook Hollow Park. Now, picture your local park, right? But you're ant-sized. Suddenly, it's completely different. Previews are calling it an alien planet or like something out of Bug's Life. I mean, I'm already picturing trying to climb a discarded soda can like it's a mountain, Or like a greasy hot dog wrapper being a death trap.
Totally. That sense of scale shift is core to the appeal.
And it's not just a little bigger. Get this, the opening area. In the early access, it's apparently the size of the entire map from the first Grounded and the full game. They're saying nearly 3 times larger than the original.
Okay, that's massive.
Visually, they're describing it as lush and bright. Crazy detail. Like you have to actually chop down grass trees for wood or slurp up individual dewdrops for water. It sounds incredible. But how do they make that feel full? Not just empty space. What does that scale really unlock?
That's a really good question, because the scale isn't just for show, right? It's tied into their whole design philosophy for Grounded 2. If you connect the dots, the reason they went for a full sequel, not just DLC, was partly down to tech limitations, specifically the Xbox One. It just couldn't handle the vision. So this let them build Brook Hollow Park completely from the ground up. For the Series XS and PC, it means more than just size. It means better physics, smarter bugs, maybe more complex environmental stuff, things the old hardware just couldn't do. And yeah, this new park setting, it just screams potential for new biomes. We've heard about an icy environment, which is actually hilariously like a melted ice cream zone, and even a spooky anthill. It lets them refresh the whole experience.
Okay, this is where I got really excited.
Yeah.
The standout feature everyone's talking about. Buggies. Rideable bugs.
Yes.
Imagine it. You shrunk down riding on an ant. And it's not just for looks. They have abilities. They can run, sprint, attack, and crucially for a game like this, they can carry huge stacks of grass blades for building.
That's a game changer for resource gathering.
Getting your first buggy sounds like it's going to be a real moment. Like building the Seamouth in Subnautica or getting your first proper Dino and Ark.
Absolutely. A major progression milestone.
It just changes how you move around this massive new world. Makes it way more dynamic. And yes, you can pet them.
Of course you can.
Okay, beyond the mounts, there's also this Omni tool. They're saying it's the first and last tool you'll need. Shovel, axe, wrench, hammer, all in one.
Oh, interesting.
The huge one there is obviously inventory space.
Right.
More room for loot. Anyone who plays survival games knows that struggle.
Definitely. Inventory management is always key.
And don't worry, it's still upgradable. There's a whole tech tree for it.
Adding mounts, the buggies, it's genuinely transformative. Obsidian even said it made them rethink how the world works for Grounded 2. It's not just about getting places faster on this bigger map. It really changes your whole relationship with the environment, how you explore. You're not just scurrying anymore. You're potentially like a tiny powerhouse on your ant steed. That's a big shift, especially later in the game. And we know ants and orb weavers will be available early on in the preview. And they'll fight with you, even when you're not riding them. That's a pretty big combat boost. But it makes you wonder, doesn't it? With that kind of power boost, how do they balance the difficulty? Does it make things too easy early on?
That's a really sharp point. Yeah, power, it raises balance question. It makes me think about the core loop, You're still scavenging, crafting, building bases, managing hunger, thirst, fighting bugs, all that's still there. And co-op, still a big part of it, up to 4 players. But Totally playable solo, too.
Right, the core is familiar.
But combat. Okay, some early previews mentioned the starting combat, like with spears, felt a bit slow, janky, lacked impact. But Obsidian's goal seems clear. Add a new layer of strategy. We're talking tougher bugs, maybe class-like archetypes for players to specialize in, and a dash ability. For you, and for enemies like cockroaches, that could make fights way more dynamic.
Oh yeah, dodging charging beetles sounds intense.
Imagine flanking a spider with your ant buddy. It sounds like they want encounters to feel much more tactical.
And that tactical depth, it ties into this wider shift. Narratively, tonally. It's not just bigger, it feels more mature. So, Grounded 2 is set a few years after the first game. Like 1992. The original teens. Still missing. And Ominent, that shady company, back at it again. Obsidian explicitly said they wanted to age the game up a little bit, give it a darker tint. Which makes sense, right? They know their audience. The kids who played the first one are older now, maybe 17 instead of 12. Their tastes have changed. And this probably explains some of the surprising horror elements people are picking up on. The first game could be scary, sure, but kind of by accident sometimes. But now, descriptions of a shadow that follows you, watching, learning, waiting, that sounds way more intentional, more dread-inducing. Reminds me a bit of Subnautica, actually. That shift from wonder to terror. It's a potent mix when done well.
That's fascinating, aging it up like that, giving it that darker tint. But how do they balance that, with the charm, the thing that made Grounded 1 so special? Is there a risk? Could it alienate some players who like the lighter feel? Or does it just add another layer?
It's definitely a tightrope walk.
And they're keeping some lighter stuff, right? I saw something about turning off dialogue. If, the nasally whine of Max Smalls' voice acting gets too much for you, which is kind of a funny, specific option for a game leaning into dread.
It is a tightrope walk, absolutely. And that's where Obsidian's experience really shows, I think. They're not ditching the charm. They're using the darkness to make the charm stand out more and vice versa, like a dark fairy tale, The contrast makes both sides stronger. That balance is crucial to keeping it feeling like grounded, just with more weight to it. And yeah, the humor, the little touches, like the voice acting toggle, that's them acknowledging the broad audience, providing that pressure release. It shows they get their players even as they push the envelope. And that commitment, you see it in their whole early access plan too.
Right, let's get into that. Early access, Grounded 2 hits July 29, 2025, Xbox and PC. And this isn't new for them. The first game spent, 2 years in early access?
Yeah, quite a while.
And the devs sound confident. Obsidian actually said the game is ready for early access, which is pretty bold these days.
Very bold.
They're also changing the update cadence. Less frequent, much larger updates every 4 to 5 months or so. Apparently, the monthly updates for the first game were kind of a hassle for them.
That makes sense. Constant small updates can be draining.
Now, on places like Reddit, you see tons of excitement. But also, the usual questions. How long till full release? Will it come to PlayStation, Switch? Obsidian isn't saying no to other consoles down the line, but for now, it's Xbox and PC game preview. So this new early access approach, what does it signal about their confidence? And what's it mean for players this time?
Well, sticking with early access, but refining the process, it really highlights how much Obsidian values that community feedback loop. It's like a partnership. Going for bigger, less frequent updates suggests they're aiming for more polished, substantial drops each time. It could mean a smoother, more stable early access ride for players. You feel real progress with each update, not just tiny tweaks. And it probably frees up the dev team to focus on those larger features without the constant pressure of monthly deadlines. Seems like they learned a lot from the first time around. They want it to feel like Grounded 1 for veterans, keep that core DNA, but also evolve it. Based on feedback, based on that aging player base we talked about. It's that cycle,
Yeah.
Community-driven development. They're really good at it, and they're leaning into it hard for Grounded 2.
Okay, so summing up, Grounded 2 is looking like a really ambitious sequel. Bigger, definitely bolder, maybe a bit darker, more mature, all set in this familiar but huge new park world. It's still got that unique charm, that miniature-scale wonder. But now, with this surprising, creeping layer of horror added in, sounds like it'll keep you on your toes.
Exactly. And Obsidian sounds so sure, saying the game is ready for early access. That plus their whole community-focused approach. It makes Grounded 2 feel less like just a sequel and more like this living, evolving thing they're building with the players. It does make you think, though, doesn't it? What other everyday places shrunk down could become these wild new frontiers? for adventure. Or maybe even for terror. Imagine your own kitchen, but you're the size of a crumb. The potential for wonder and, yeah, probably some dread. It's pretty wild to consider.